One of the two men standing in this checkout line is worth $1.9 million, and everyone in the store would bet on the wrong one. It's a Saturday morning at a hardware store in Tucson. The first man wears a logo cap that matches his truck, this year's crew cab, chrome grille, financed to the windows, and he's putting a smart doorbell on a store card. The second man wears a jacket old enough to vote, carries a $9 bag of washers, and the 2011 Camry waiting for him in the lot has a door ding he's never bothered to fix. The millionaire is holding the washers. The truck is one missed paycheck from a genuinely bad month. Run the numbers on those two men, and the picture gets worse for the truck. The crew cab carries an $840 payment with 61 months left on it, a full coverage policy the lender requires, and a trade-in offer that already sits $4,000 under the balance. The washers are going home to a paid-off house, a brokerage account that adds more in a good month than the truck costs in a year, and a calendar with nothing urgent on it. And that inversion is not a fluke of one parking lot. It repeats in every neighborhood in the country, on a schedule, for reasons that can be read once you know where to look. My name is William, and over the next 18 minutes, I'm going to hand you 10 observable signs, behaviors you can check from across a room, no bank statement required, that separate the people who look rich from the people who are. Some will confirm what you've suspected. At least two will sound backwards until the numbers land. And when it's done, you will not be able to stand in a checkout line the old way again. So hold the honest question a moment. How many millionaires have you walked past this month, certain they were struggling? The timing matters because the costume is never been more expensive to rent. The average new car payment in America now runs $770 a month by experience count. Buy now, pay later has turned a checkout button into a loan office. More than a third of American adults still could not cover a $400 surprise with cash. And while all that performing goes on, Ramsey Solutions ran the largest study of American millionaires ever done and found their 5 most common professions were engineer, accountant, teacher, manager, and attorney. Teacher, sitting in the top 5. The people accumulating real money are overwhelmingly people nobody is looking at, and the people everyone is looking at are financing the attention. That's the strange economy of 2026. The appearance of wealth has never been easier to rent, which means appearance has never carried less information. A decade ago, the truck at least implied the income to service it. Now it implies an 84-month term. The signal collapsed, and almost nobody updated their reading. Stand in any parking lot for 10 minutes and try to sort the builders from the performers on site. Could you actually do it?
Before the first sign, one idea that explains all 10 at once, so hold on to it. Income is not wealth. Income is water moving through a pipe. Wealth is whatever gets kept and put to work after the pipe has done its monthly noise. 2 quick figures make it concrete. A surgeon clearing $400,000 and spending $410,000, the lease, the club, the remodel that never ends, is poor by the only math that counts, running a deficit in a nicer costume. A county clerk keeping $900 a month in an index fund on a $58,000 salary is quietly becoming the richest person on her street, and nobody at the office has the faintest idea. Same country, same year, opposite directions, and from the outside, every observer would rank them backwards because the eye measures the pipe and never the tank. Thomas Stanley, the researcher who spent his career interviewing actual millionaires, built a quick test you can run on anyone, including yourself. Multiply age by pre-tax income and divide by 10. That's the net worth the numbers expect. Above it, a builder. Below it, a performer. Everything you're about to see is that gap, walking around in ordinary clothes. Start with the sign parked closest to the door. Sign 1. The car is boring, paid off, and nobody apologizes for it. The mainstream default is that $770 average payment rolling forever, trade-in after trade-in. The quietly wealthy default is a reliable car bought used, driven a decade past the loan, dings left where they landed. The mechanism isn't taste, it's what the dead payment becomes. The performer's $770 never actually ends. The loan runs 6 or 7 years, the newness dies around month 8, the trade-in rolls into the next loan, and the payment becomes a permanent utility, like water, except it buys depreciation. The quiet money runs the same months in the other direction. Redirect $770 a month into a plain index fund at 7%, deliberately below the market's long-run average, and 25 years later it's roughly $620,000, a retirement assembled entirely out of one skipped costume. The decision seemed small at the time. One more payment, everybody has one. It was the opposite of small. A paid-off car impresses absolutely no one, which is exactly what it's for. Sign 2, the watch is cheap and the clothes don't argue. Stanley's data is almost comedic on this point. Half of America's millionaires never spent more than about $400 on a suit in their lives, and half never passed $235 for a watch. Harold, a retired plant supervisor 2 towns over from that hardware store, has worn the same Timex for 30 years and carries a 7-figure portfolio behind it. The mechanism, they buy function because they've done the resale math on status. A logo holds its price for the length of a first impression. Status is expensive precisely because it resales for nothing. Sign 3, they can name their numbers without opening an app. Net worth within 10%, the rate on every debt they carry, what last month actually cost. Ask a performer those 3 questions and you'll get a guess, a groan, and a subject change. Performers know their limits. Owners know their totals. Run it as a self-test tonight if you want the honest version. What are you worth? What does your debt cost per year? What did last month total? Write the 3 answers, then check them against reality. Within 10% on all 3, and you're already handling money like the jacket, not the truck. It takes 30 seconds, and it never misses, because nobody steers a machine they refuse to look at, and the reverse is just as reliable. The moment someone starts looking, the numbers start moving.
Sign 4, sales don't move them. The today-only pitch, the countdown timer, the last one at this price, it all breaks against one habit. Anything non-essential waits 30 days, and if it still matters in 30 days, it gets bought without drama from a sinking fund that's been collecting for exactly this in a high-yield account paying around 4%. Lena, an X-ray tech, once let a furniture showroom's final markdown expire 3 separate times on the same couch. The price kept coming back. Final markdowns usually do. The sinking fund mechanics are almost embarrassingly simple. Take any predictable future cost, tires or a couch or December, divide the annual number by 12, automate that slice into the account, and by the time the expense arrives, it's already paid and waiting. Urgency is a sales tool that only works on people without cash, because cash removes the deadline, and a removed deadline flips the negotiation. Now the store is the one running out of time. Sign 5. The house sits well below the ceiling. The bank approved 3 times more. The bank always approves 3 times more. And they bought the modest house on the decent street anyway, 19 years ago, and stayed. Stanley found most American millionaires live in neighborhoods where they're outnumbered by non-millionaires, which sounds backwards until you see the mechanism. The gap between what the lender offered and what they chose is not empty space, it's where the portfolio lives. And the gap is wider than the mortgage line alone, because a house bills you in proportion to itself forever. The property tax, the insurance, the furnace sized to the square footage, the roof priced by the square, the rooms that demand furniture. Every dollar of house you don't buy declines to charge you all of those every year for as long as you own it. Every square foot they didn't buy has been compounding for 2 decades. Pause on the pattern before the back half, because 5 signs in, it should be visible. Not one of these requires a large income. Every single one is a gap between what was approved and what was chosen, between the payment and the redirect, between the costume and the balance. The signs aren't purchases, they're spaces. Sign 6. Listen to the vocabulary. They talk about time the way performers talk about money. Overtime gets declined to keep a Tuesday. A job gets weighed in hours surrendered, not just salary offered. The mechanism is that past a certain balance, money's honest job is buying time back, and they've already made the conversion in their heads. Rich sounds like a number. Wealthy sounds like a free Tuesday afternoon. If reading rooms like this is a skill you want more of, the subscribe button is the cheapest thing in this entire video, and it's the only thing here that keeps teaching after the credits. Now, back to the list, because the next sign is the one people flat refuse to believe. Sign 7. Their money life is automated to the point of boredom. Transfers fire on payday before feelings wake up. The 401k contribution captures the full employer match, 50 cents to $1 handed over per dollar contributed, the only guaranteed 50 to 100% instant return in all of personal finance. And the rest rides a broad index fund they check quarterly at most. Priya, a payroll manager, set her automation up in 2019 and describes herself as someone who hasn't invested since. She's right, in a way. She hasn't. The machine has, every 2 weeks, without an opinion, through every headline, including the ugly ones, which is the entire point. The performer's account is a mood. It buys excitement at the top and sells fear at the bottom, on schedule. The automated account has no mood to sell. The boredom you can observe from outside, no market talk, no app refresh to dinner, no drama, isn't ignorance. It's the visible surface of a system that was designed once, on purpose, to never need attention again. Sign 8. In money conversations, they ask questions and volunteer nothing. The performer announces the win, the deal, the guy they know. The quietly wealthy person asks what you paid, nods, and files it. The mechanism is simple. Bragging is a request for an audience, and they stopped needing one years ago. 2 objections arrive on schedule here, so let's take them in order. First, some genuinely rich people do buy loud things, and that's real. The retired machinist with the restored Mustang isn't performing, he's enthusiastic, and the difference shows in the funding. Cash he can afford to lose versus a loan that owns his weekends. Wealth can love a thing, it just never needs the thing witnessed. Second, plenty of broke-looking people are simply broke. Completely true, and the old jacket alone proves nothing. A jacket is just a jacket until the other reeds arrive. That's why no single sign convicts anyone. They work as a cluster. The boring car, and the named numbers, and the kept Tuesday, and the automated transfers, stacking toward certainty. 1 sign is a coincidence, 4 is a diagnosis. Sign 9, the generosity has no camera on it. The oversized tip left flat on the table. A nephew's textbooks covered without a post about it. The mechanism runs deeper than kindness. Giving without an audience is what financial security actually looks like from the inside, because there's no anxiety left that needs the credit. And sign 10, the one that carries the other 9, they have exited the status game entirely. Not lost it, left it. Somewhere along the way, the audience they were supposed to impress stopped mattering, and every dollar that used to fund the performance went to work instead. Ingvar Kamprad, the founder of IKEA, and for years one of the richest men in Europe, drove a 1993 Volvo 240 for about 2 decades, flew economy on principle, and was known to walk a furniture floor in clothes his own warehouse staff outdressed. The man could have bought the airline, several airlines. He had simply stopped performing for people he'd never meet, decades before the money made the performance affordable. That's the tell inside the tell. The exit from the status game almost always predates the wealth, because the exit is what funded it. On the surface, these 10 signs look unrelated: a car, a watch, a Tuesday, a tip. Underneath, they are one single decision made 10 different ways. The gap stays invested because the game was always the expense. And what the exit buys isn't just money, it's the calm you noticed in that hardware store line, the specific quiet of a man with nothing left to prove to strangers. Run the reel back, fast, in pictures this time. A door ding nobody fixed, a 30-year Timex, 3 numbers recited cold, no app, a countdown timer dying, unclicked, a small house on a decent street, 19 years deep, a Tuesday, kept, a transfer firing at midnight while everyone sleeps, A question asked instead of a story told, a tip with no witness, a game quietly left. Now go back to Tucson, because you can read the line now, can't you? The logo cap, the chrome, the store card, a costume with a payment schedule. The old jacket, the $9 washers, the ding, a man worth $1.9 million who has nothing to signal and nowhere urgent to be. Looking rich is a costume you rent monthly. Being rich is what's left standing when the costume goes back. There's a layer underneath the reading, though, and it's the part a list can't teach, the machinery that makes the gap grow once it's kept, how compounding actually builds, why a match doubles a dollar on contact, where the kept money has to live for any of tonight's numbers to be true. That foundation is broken down in full on this channel, built and waiting for the day you want the engine and not just the lens. So here's the assignment, and it starts in the next room you walk into. Run the 10, the parking lot, the wrists, the vocabulary, the calm. Somewhere in your week there is an old jacket holding a small bag of washers, and now you're one of the few people in the store who knows exactly what you're looking at.